Hey guys, this is Jerry Brewer of East Bay Hitting Instruction, and I want to start a new little video series about not getting stuck. And basically, I see some things in hitters in the past, looking at guys and just how to slow down, how bats get slowed down, and just by faulty movement patterns or whatever. And I just want to just show some common things and how we can do movements better, and basically by using overlap. We talk about whether you use positions in judge a swing or movements or patterns or whatever. The common thing is that we're talking about a sequence of things. Sometimes we lose the concept of overlap between the movements, and that can be really critical, really in all movements, and especially in hitting. So I want to talk about one today, specifically between the overlap of the front knee and the rear hip. And it's also a great excuse to use some of the video I shot at spring training. So let's fire it up. And so here is Adrian Gonzalez. He's hot as anybody right now. And let's just punch through his swing a couple times. And so the first thing to notice is that he uses a pretty higher leg lift. But when we do this, it's not so much of a blocky movement. It's not so much get your weight back. Pick your leg up, get your weight back, move forward. Watch the connection between the front knee and the rear hip. As the front knee is still going up, see that rear hip start to break towards the pitcher? There's some overlap there. There's some dynamic loading, if you will. Similar to like doing a bench press or a squat. You don't just go down, pause, and then restart everything. There's some overlap here. He's going to get into this rear hip, and then while it's still being loaded, if you will, he's going to start pushing forward. So he's built up some kind of springboard, like doing a high jump here. He's getting into this rear hip and he's pushing forward through it. He's creating a good move. So it's not just bring your rear leg up all over the rear leg and then try to create a movement from a dead stop. There's continuous movement here. As the front leg is pulling up, the rear hip is pushing towards the pitcher. You'll see that with some other guys. Here's Brett Lowry. Here's his front knee coming up, and the rear hip is going to break. So he's really moving that front leg out with his body. If you watch this in full speed, you can see the same thing. This is a single up the middle. The front knee's going up and the rear hip's breaking. It's not one than the other. It's the same thing. As this front knee is coming up, pretty much immediately, he's going to break with the rear hip. Some guys have more of more overlap. Some guys spend more time getting into the rear hip. That's about the tempo of your swing. Lowry's a pretty quick guy, and everything he does is kind of really strong and powerful, and you really kind of almost rush. He's kind of a Red Bull guy. So he doesn't spend a lot of time getting into this movement. As soon as he's picking up that front knee, he's getting going with that rear hip. This is a really strong angle right here. He's never getting over that back leg. Some guys who maybe don't do it quite as much. Let's show Ben Zobrist here. This is a really good clip to see the same thing. That front knee's going to come up. He's going to get in the rear hip, and then while that front knee is still coming up, he's going to start pushing forward and moving that thing out. So there's not some just getting over this rear leg, camping out, and then trying to just to recreate it statically. Here he's going to see that rear hip start to break away from that line in the dugout while that front knee is still rising. So again, he's creating some overlap. Really good movement. Okay, let's see. Andrew McCutchen, he's my favorite example to show. Same thing. He's a guy necessarily doesn't have much of a leg lift, but you're going to see the same thing. As he starts to get into the rear hip, the front knee's going to come up, and he's going to start to push forward. His front foot is not even off the ground, and he's starting to push forward. And he's going to carry that out. Okay? So he's got really good overlap. Again, he's not just getting into this rear lap, pausing, and getting to go. Okay? And so I'm going to show you one more. This one is a little interesting. This is King Griffey Jr. Okay? And so you say, well, he's starting from a dead stop. He's completely upright. How is he going to have overlap? Well, he's going to have it. If you watch him here, let's just punch through at full speed to see this whole swing. Like, wow, that doesn't like any kind of overlap. Well, let's start it from the beginning and we'll see it. So there goes the front knee, and watch the rear hip already start to break. Okay, and you can see here is as he's moving out, watch his front foot. He's almost dragging his front foot because of this overlap. He's got the front knee going in just a bit, but then he's pushing through that rear hip, and he's creating that good overlap. The rear hip is leading everything. He's not reaching out with that front foot. He's really letting his body take that front leg. Okay, so he's got overlap. It's small. I'm not saying it has to be huge, but it's there. Okay, and he's getting a good movement, help building himself a little bit of coil, and creating a good movement pattern. Okay, so what I see sometimes is, guys who just, if you talk about positions or sequence or movements or whatever, you say just do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, and it can get very blocky. It can be very segmented, like you're baking a cake. You stir this and you stir this, and it's not like that with movements. We need to talk about the fluidity of these things. There's rhythm and there's sequence, but there's also overlap between these events. They're not just this, and this. Like I said, just like doing a squat or a bench press, you don't go to the bottom, okay, cool, I'm here, and then try to go out of there from a very static position. Everything's got a rhythm to it. Everything's got some flow. Okay, so think about this. If you find yourself having a hard time getting going forward, if you feel like you're tipping from the back side or just kind of getting in a poor position, I say you're getting stuck. You're getting stuck, over this back leg. Try to create some overlap, between this front knee and this rear hip. And I think you might see that's going to help you get off the back side a little bit, not get stuck, and move into a good position. Okay, so front knee goes up, rear hip pushes towards the pitcher. Alright guys, so that's it for this time, and we'll talk about another way to avoid getting stuck next time.